Welcome, everyone. We are live. It's Thursday. Wow. Oh my goodness, already. Anywho, thank you for being here this morning. The Law newspaper. And on YouTube, it says Mind Movies. Oh, yes. The Law, the newspaper. Now, the newspaper, where does that come in? I was watching Ip Man. I forget which one I was watching. I think it was two. I think it was two. Now, the guy says to him, "Oh, let's, just spar with me." And he starts clearing away things. And Ip Man says, "There's no need to clear things." He takes the newspaper and he puts it on the ground. He stands up on it and he says, "Move me off the newspaper." And do you know what happened? There's a reason why I'm telling you this, because I noticed it right away. The person doing the sparring with him was no longer interested in anything but that newspaper and trying to dislodge him from it. See where his focus was? His focus was no longer in truly the practice. It was just, got to get him off the paper. So his focus was on the paper, which left him open. It left him open to be beaten. You see, sometimes we get caught up in the thing as opposed to what we learn, what we become. I'll say it again. Sometimes we get caught up in the thing. His focus was the newspaper. His focus was not on anything other than that newspaper. And because that's where his focus was, well, he lost the sparring match. So what did I learn from that? We want to make changes in our lives. And we get caught up sometimes in the problem. We allow the problem to overwhelm us because you're giving the problem your full attention. Remember what happens. The principle of correspondence tells us as within, so without. So if your attention is on the problem, what can you expect to encounter? Problems on the outside. Why? Because as within, so without. So when you want to make a change in your life, you don't allow yourself to become consumed by the problem. The problem will always identify itself if you are paying attention. It always identifies itself. The problem always identifies itself. But every problem has the seed of the solution. So we don't have to allow ourselves to become consumed by the problem. You answer a simple question. You can see the problem. And you ask yourself, what do I want the solution to be? How do you want it to turn out? How do you want it to go? That is the question you answer. Because in answering that question, you remove your attention away from the square of newspaper, the problem, and you allow yourself to be moved by the unfolding of the solution. You allow yourself? Well, you're certainly not forcing. One does not force change. One allows it to take place. Oh, Angela, that's so easy for you to say. Not necessarily. If you think about it, you ponder it for a moment. Contemplate it, just sit there with it. The principles tell us that every cause has its effect and every effect has its cause. So if you say, but I don't know the cause, I don't know what would cause me to be that new person. Do you know the effect? Do you know who you want to become? Well, if you know the effect, every effect has its cause. So if you know the effect, and that's where you turn your attention towards the outcome, as Neville Gardner would say, go to the end. The end is the effect. If you go there, and that is where you focus upon, what about the end are you focusing upon? The mental attitude. Remember, to experience in imagination what you would be doing in reality if you were the man or the woman you wanted to be. That is where one turns their attention. Not upon the longing for something, not upon the complaining about not having something. Because wherever your attention is, I know it is a very popular saying, energy flows where attention goes. That's real popular, isn't it? But do you truly grasp what it means? When you water your houseplant, you're giving it attention. So obviously the plant thrives because you're giving it attention by way of feeding it, dusting it, talking to it, watering it. So the plant thrives. But if you remove your attention, meaning, oops, I forgot to water it 3 consecutive weeks in a row, oh my, the plant withers and dies from want of attention. So you see, to turn your attention towards something, it means you are pouring yourself into it. You're nurturing that thing that has your attention. Now, the thing that has your attention, do you want it nourished? So when you complain, do you want that nourished? Well, if you nourish complaining, it thrives and becomes bigger than what it is. Feed me, Seymour. It becomes bigger. But if you turn your attention towards the mental attitude of the solution, that is what makes it grow. Same attention. It's the same attention. All you're doing is directing it where you want it to go, pointing the hose towards the part of the garden you want to water. You see? So when we put our focus on that one little square, it consumes us and we miss everything that's going on around us and we get beat down. So how do you turn your attention towards it, towards who you want to become? You turn your attention towards the mental attitude of who and what you want to become. That's it. Yeah, but how long is that going to take? Well, as long as you stop and ask how long it's going to take. You know what happens when you turn a pot on, you're watching that water. It seems like the bubbles take forever. It seems like it takes especially when you are in a hurry. Especially when you're in a hurry, things seem to take so much longer. But remember, Daddy, and remember what Daddy says. When you rush the brush, you waste the paint. You take your time. But I don't have time, Angela. I'm in a hurry. I need this done right away. I am desperate, Angela. As within, so without. That is the experience. So you take the time, the facts of life. Anyway, I was triggered myself. You take the time to assess who and what you want to become. Literally, that's where the time goes, right there. And when you figure it out, either the cause or the effect, whichever one you find easier to come upon, because one will bring about the other. See, force is not required. When you know those principles, the principles bring peace of mind. Why? Because it tells you so long as you identify yourself as being that thing, then that is what you will have to do. You see how comforting that is? The principle of mentalism tells you the all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. So, what mentality are you churning like butter? What mentality are you allowing to ferment? What mentality are you growing and nurturing? Well, I don't know, Angela. I don't know what my mentality is. Oh, well, here's how you find out what your mentality is. You look at your behavior. Your behavior, as within, so without. It is also the principle of gender. Shoot. What is within? It's invisible, right? We don't see it. It's invisible until you act, until you embody the invisible. You'll see it now. So when you see your actions, when you hear the words that come out of my mouth, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Yes. See those words that are coming out of your mouth? They will tell you what your mental attitude is. And when you hear them, taste them, touch them, interact with them, you get to ask yourself a very important question. Do I want to be that? My coworker was reminiscing the other day and saying how there was this person who worked with them long before I came along. He said every time he entered the room, he brought this dark cloud with him. Every time he came in, it was the mood shifted and it was just this heaviness in the space. As within, so without. That's what we do all day, every day. So when you begin to recognize your actions, your words, your mental mood, mental attitude, when you begin to recognize them, well, step one is always the recognition. The all is. You recognize it. What is it? You don't judge it. Oh my God, I'm such a loser. Why does this keep happening to me? My life should be better. I'm behind the eight ball. Judging. You don't judge it. You just simply look at it and say, oh, that's what I'm doing. Ah, shoot. Well, I don't want to do that anymore. What do you want to do instead? You see, because judging is like, it's thick and gooey and heavy, and you gotta wade through it. It slows you down. That's what judgment does. It slows you down from accomplishing all that you want to become. You just watch the garden grow is all you do. Just watch it. Prune it where it needs to be pruned. So when you're watching yourself, right? You're watching to do what? What's the purpose of observing? To learn. Why? So you can practice what you've learned. When you see that, because remember, mirror neurons, you're watching, right? Everybody talks about Big Brother's always watching them. Nah, Big Brother can't watch you more than you watch yourself. You are always watching you. But you thought it was somebody else? You are always watching you from the inside out. You're always watching you. So when you watch what you're doing, if you like it or you love it, carry on. Carry on, carry on. But if you watch it and you say, that's not really doing it for me anymore. That is step one. The acknowledgement of the problem. Health, wealth, whatever it is. The acknowledgement of the problem. Once you've acknowledged it, now you make a determination. Now you choose something. Because remember, where you put your focus, well, that's where it's going to thrive. The newspaper? You'll get a beat down for sure. So when you say, I don't want to be that, I want to become, and you name it. And when you make the determination of wanting to become it, because you have made that choice, every cause has its effect. So the behavior now follows. Once you choose who you want to become, the mentality follows that. Remember, it's mental, right? So the mentality follows. The thoughts follow who you say you want to be. You start thinking in that fashion. You start speaking from there. You start behaving from there. Now, the principle of rhythm, remember what it says. It says there's an ebb and there's a flow, which means at some points throughout the day, you're going to be all gung-ho and you're going to be, yeah, I can do it. Woo! I'm living my life like it's golden. Yeah. And then some other part throughout that day, you'll be like, oh my God. Why? There's an ebb and there's a flow. And if you remember that, when you catch yourself in the ebb, yeah, you run with that one. And then you go into the flow of moving into, you catch yourself and you go back to where you want to be. Why? Because you cannot sustain the ebb. You cannot make it ebb indefinitely, and you cannot make it flow indefinitely. But if you make a habit of which one of those things, the ebb or the flow, if you make the habit, then you will live by that habit. That's what you do. This is why when you practice, Neville says the state akin to sleep. You take a couple minutes, a moment or two, and you deliberately put yourself in the mental attitude or the state, as he calls it. You deliberately put yourself there. And then you pop right out again. Another time throughout the day, you pop yourself in that state again for however long you want, a few moments, and then you pop right out again and you go about your day. Why? Because it is the act of deliberately moving yourself into the mental state that forms the neurological pathway. That's what you're doing behind the scenes. That's what you're doing at the back end of things. You're forming the habit out front. And in the formation of that habit, you live it out. This is why Neville Goddard says to persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Because when you persist in it, you make it a habit. And when you make it a habit, well, we live by way of those, don't we? Indeed, we do. So when you hear the word persist, don't persist. What am I persisting in? I'm just pretending. Nothing's going to change anyway. Oh, look at the state. Look at the mental state of that just came out of your mouth. Yeah, but I tried this thing. I tried that thing. Ain't nothing working. That's just a bunch of baloney. See that? See that mental attitude? Because you're wanting to believe, you're wanting to hope that it works. The law does not play in hope. The law tells you it is what it is. The law says the all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. And what you say you are on the inside is what you will have to act out on the outside. That's the law. Well, how do you know? Plant corn. And if anything else other than corn grows, let me know. The law says you reap what you have sown. So you don't have to hope and wish that your change will happen. You decide what the change is that you want to become. And once you've made that choice, a new mental attitude will begin to unfold for you naturally. Just like if you complain, that mental attitude unfolds. And it shows you itself. We just get so caught up in that little tiny piece of newspaper trying to move the world off of it. When in actuality, you don't try and move the world, you move you. The world moves itself. You have to move you. And you move you by making a choice. You look at where you are and you look at where you want to go. They're in poised opposition. One's on the left and one's on the right. You got to look at it. Right? So who do you want to become? We keep pushing and pushing and pushing it against things. You don't fight things. You see, everybody talks about submission. The one thing one should submit to, and here's the beauty, right? Whether you submit to law or not, the law is always on. So the choice is yours. You are just fighting yourself. If you don't submit to law deliberately, you're just fighting yourself. And listen, we all know how exhausting it is to fight yourself. It is exhausting. So preserve your strength. Flow with the principles. It's telling you, you have a mental image. You have a mental attitude. You have a mental state. And every time, I saw this young lady, she was saying how in different languages, in the English language, we say I am, and we identify ourselves with the thing. In other languages, I forget which one, is it Aramaic? Instead of saying I am angry or I am happy, they say happiness is passing through me. They see themselves, they see what's going on, and they see the effect. They maintain the role of observer. Whereas we lose sight of the observer and think we are the thing. So when you observe the mental attitude, or you listen to the words that you're saying, you begin to pay close attention because you know that it is that inner conversation that you're having with yourself that is the dictator. It is the rudder of the ship. That is your life. That's what it is. I trust that this is making sense for you. I know you hear it every day in slight different variations, but always the same. I know you hear it every day. But then you have to ask yourself, when am I going to do it? When are you going to do it? Well, Angela, I don't know what to do. Step one, acknowledge where you are right this minute. Acknowledge what the problem is. Acknowledge what you're going through without judgment. You're just going through it. Once you have acknowledged it, what would you like to become? Only you can answer that. What would you like to become? And once you name what it is that you want to become, you must recognize that it comes with a mental attitude. Right out the box, it comes with a mental attitude. You know, when we say sometimes, oh my God, you're so entitled. Entitled is a mental attitude. Because look at the behavior. You wouldn't call it entitled if they weren't acting it out. As within, so without. So whatever you say you are has an accompanying mental attitude. Watch what it is. Without judgment. Because you're learning from it. Observe to learn. Observe to comprehend. Not to judge, but to comprehend, to understand, to grasp. That's what we do. So now that you have identified what you no longer want to be, you must choose who you want to become. And when you make the choice of who you want to become, you recognize that it comes with a certain bag of mental attitudes. You know? It comes with a mental attitude. And that mental attitude is what you rehearse. Why are you rehearsing it? You're rehearsing it until it takes on the tones of reality. You are rehearsing it until it is set down in your psyche. Until you don't have to remember to do it anymore because now you just do it on what now? Autopilot. What is autopilot? Autopilot is following the neurological pathway that you set down through your repetitive actions and feelings. That's what autopilot is. You tie your shoes on autopilot. You drive your car on autopilot. You chew and you swallow on autopilot. You don't have to think about those things anymore. That is why persistence is important. We do not do persistence because we're going to get something. Remember, that's the newspaper you're standing on with the master, and he says, move me off this newspaper. And all you can think about and see is the newspaper. And he's telling you the newspaper is not even a part of the equation. What you have learned and what you are applying is the big picture that supersedes the newspaper I'm standing on. That's the point. You don't get caught up in the thing because you change when you persist. Why? Why, Mr. Anderson? Why do you persist? You persist, and in your persistence, you become. You change. And it is that persistence, which is the rehearsal, right? That causes the neurological pathway to be set down inside the brain. That's what you're doing on the back end, setting down a neurological pathway so that this thing takes on the tones of reality. It's just your way now. It's just your habit. But you see, we want to run around and just recite affirmations without comprehending what you're doing. Comprehension is the light that will just illuminate your way. When you comprehend what you're doing, you see the reasoning behind it. That's why the change happens. And you don't have to struggle anymore talking about a technique, a technique. Do you know how many times in a day I hear that word, technique? And what do I say? Eric, don't sweat the technique. That's what I say. What good is a technique if you do not understand what you're doing and why things unfold the way they do? That's why I have always used this method with my son. I teach him. I don't say just do it. No, I say when you do this, this is going to happen. And here's why it happens. So that the next time you make a choice, you know this is how these things are going to unfold. So that he understands, so that when he sits down to contemplate making a decision, he does not have to deal with, am I going to fail? Because he comprehends why you do what you do and why you persist. And so he knows whatever you persist in is what you will succeed at. And the way you practice it is the way you will do it. He understands this more and more when he goes to class, when he goes to his martial arts class. This is why I don't have to remind him to practice. He knows the importance of the practice. So he practices. He works on improving his stamina. He's recognizing when to eat before he goes to class. I don't have to tell him what to do because he comprehends. He understands why. So the same way I teach him is the same way I teach you. Same way I teach myself. If you know the reason and you comprehend the reason, you don't get caught up with moving the world off the newspaper. But you begin to recognize, I see my actions. I know that if I do this, yeah, I know how that's going to turn out. Do I want it to turn out that way or do I want a different avenue? You know what? I think a different avenue would be better for me. What's that mental attitude? And it allows you to sit. It allows you to sit with your own thoughts. And it allows you to be at peace with your own self. As Granddaddy would say, you're not running from pillar to post. Or in Western terms, throwing mud at the wall to see what sticks. You don't have to do that. You know that every cause has its effect and every effect has its cause. So you know, if you say to yourself, I want to change, but ah, I don't know what. Well, what experience would you like to have? That is the effect. And when you answer, because we all know how we want to feel. You know how you want to feel. Oh, yes, you do. Stop lying to me. Well, I don't know how I want to feel. Yes, you do. Of course, you know how you want to feel. Now, when you sit with that and you know how you want to feel, the mental attitude that accompanies that feeling just it doesn't have a choice. It doesn't fight you. The moment you say, you know what, I want to feel like this, the accompanying mental attitude says, here I am, baby. Come on and take me. Right? That's what the mental attitude does. It just shows up. And you know you don't have to hope for that because why? Every cause has its effect and every effect has its cause. You know this. You know this. And let's say you forgot it. Let's say you forgot causation, cause and effect. You know what you do know? You know that as within, so without. That's what you know. So what's within you? Whatever is within you, it will match. It will correspond to the external experience. You know this. So you see, once you know this, how do you think you will act when it comes to something you want to change in your life? Will you be rocking in that corner talking about, oh, I don't know if I can change. I've been this way for so long. I've been this way for 60 years. Uh, Nothing is ever going to change in my life. You think you will play that card? You think you will look at the job market and say, oh, but alas, there are no jobs. You think you will look at it and say that? Oh, but my back hurts. Must I suffer? You think you will say that? No, you will say, oh, as within, so without. What does health look like to me? And you will remember your mirror neurons that when you look at health, you won't be looking at her and going, oh my God, look at how bony she is. You won't be looking at that. You'll be saying, wow, her knees don't have a problem. She can drop her like it's hard. Look at her climb those stairs. Ooh, her back must not be in pain. And you will say, I am looking at health. So my body will start to respond the way of health because I'm looking at it. And you will know that as within, so without. And you know that you will get something within you by doing what? Rehearsing it. Rehearsing the mental attitude. And you know that rehearsing a mental attitude is the formation of a neurological pathway in your brain that every time you say, drive my car, your brain goes through the Rolodex of those neurological pathways and go, oh, look at that. Driving car selected. And as soon as you put the key in the ignition, you know how to drive. Why? Because you've been driving. You formed a neurological pathway. You learned, you rehearsed, you practiced. So when Neville Goddard says you get into a state akin to sleep and you put yourself in this relaxed state, in that relaxed state, you are deliberately calling up the mental attitude that accompanies the lifestyle you want. And all you're doing is allowing it to take root. How does it take root? Well, it feels good, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Feeling is like a hot comb. It is. If you've ever encountered the hot comb, you know what I'm talking about. The feeling, as soon as you pull that feeling through that hair with the Vaseline on it, you leave the impression of smooth, silky hair at the very end. It leaves the impression. That's what feelings do. They leave an impression. Repetition solidifies the feeling and that impression inside your brain, so that every time you select walking, writing, your brain says, "Oh, I got a program for that." And it does it so that you don't have to think about it. Why? Because it takes on the tones of reality. Why? Because you persisted in the mental rehearsal of that attitude. So you see, my beautiful friends, as we go through this day today, gaze upon your life. Gaze upon your life with admiration. Why? Because you've been doing it this whole time by way of law. We cannot live in any other fashion. I will never be able to plant peas and harvest carrots. Which means, to tell you, use the principle of correspondence, as above, so below. So if I can only plant carrots and get carrots, my mental attitude then must be a match for the behavior and the lifestyle that I want. So this is why you have to become. You have to become it. And it is your persistent rehearsal of your new mental attitude that makes you become. It doesn't force you into becoming. You mold and shape yourself into it. So, I trust. Ray Ray. Oh, Ray Ray, you're awesome. Oh my God. You got me cracking up, Ray Ray. Ray Ray says it sounds like pillow talk. Well, here's the thing with pillow talk. Nobody knows but you and who you talking to. Just like nobody knows what you're saying. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen, right? Nobody knows but you. Nobody knows but you. See, that is masculine. Nobody knows but you. It is invisible. But the moment you embody it, now everybody knows. Everybody's in your business now. Because you can see your mental attitude. It is now feminine. When you act out your mental attitude, you gave it form. And the form, the feminine, is what you want to experience and what you want to change your life into. So what kind of form are you going to get? What kind of experiences would you like to have? Neville Goddard says, bliss. Because you can't be blissful and be sick. You can't be blissful and be broke. Because those mental attitudes are not the same as bliss. What is bliss? Let's look up what the dictionary says so we can get a picture of the mental attitude of bliss. Bliss. Definition. It says, perfect happiness, great joy. And some people say in this dictionary, you typically reach that after death. What? Isn't that madness? I should have to wait until I die to reach bliss. You better hush your mouth. Heavens no. With that attitude, you'll never accomplish a state of bliss while you're alive, if that is your mental attitude. Bliss is yours to have and to have now. You can occupy any mental state deliberately. Bliss is no different. So, pleasure. Reach a state of perfect happiness, typically so as to be oblivious of everything else. Neville says that mental state that you occupy, it has to crowd everything else out of your mind. A singular focus. That's it. So when you do your rehearsal of your mental attitude, then that's the only thing for those 30 seconds or that minute. That's the only thing that's on your mind. Always on my mind. That's the only thing on your mind. The only thing on your thoughts would be that mental attitude for the minute or 2 minutes that you have dedicated to it. You fall asleep in it. You wake up in it. I wanna wake up with you. I want you to be the first thing that I see. If you know that song, you know it. Ooh, that song is from way in the archives. What? What? Scotch Bonnet, you might not even know. Then again, you might know that one. You see, the mental attitude that you fall asleep in is the mental attitude you'll wake up in. Don't ask me how I know. That's what scripture means when it says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. Because whenever that mental attitude is that you fall asleep in, is the one you will wake up in. You just pick it up where you left off. You just paused it. Anyway, let's welcome everyone because I don't want to keep you. It's Thursday, and you know, these chickens, I can hear them. You know, they must be fed and watered and talked to and snuggled with. Lady didn't lay an egg yesterday, but there are 8 eggs. So that means there's 1 more egg to come. 9, if memory serves me correctly. So we'll see what today brings. Twitter, who's with us today? Ooh, it's symmetric. Olza, darling, I see you. There were some other people here as well, but I didn't get a chance to welcome them, but I saw them. Melly Mel is in the house. Joachim, oh, it's 1 p.m. for you in Germany right now? Wow. 1 p.m. Oh, sugar, it is what? 10 to 6 a.m. Me. Crack of dawn. K-Frame, I see you. The better man. Mr. Stafford Jr. Ray of sunshine. Liza, darling. All here in these YouTube streets. Facebook streets. Fan base, who's kicking it with us today? We have our sweet KZ. Ray Ray is in the house. Ah, Miss McQueen. I see you. Listen, y'all. As you go through this day today, who do you want to become? Because you can see who you are. And then Neville says to experience in imagination what you would be doing in reality if you were the man or the woman you wanted to be. Why? Oh, she's so cute when she trills. Lady's purring. Sorry, you guys can't hear her, but I can. Who do you want to be? Experience in imagination what you would be doing in reality if you were the man or the woman you wanted to be. And why? Why do you persist? You persist with that mental attitude because it is forming a neurological pathway for you. So that what happens? You just be on autopilot. You don't have to think about doing. Why? Because you're busy being it. Oh, but Angela, you make it sound so easy. Would you like it to be harder? I sure wouldn't. So when the law says, as within, so without, as above, so below, everything vibrates. Nothing stands still, and it is moving from where it is going to where its destination is. And in that movement, it follows an ebb and a flow, a pattern, a rhythm, and rhythm always compensates. However far you swing to the left is how far you come back to the right. Why? Because every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. Why? So that you can generate ideas. Masculine is to generate the idea, to give form and shape to the idea in the outside world is feminine. So you see, those principles are all around us. Shoot, not only are they all around, they go before, they come after, they permeate, they penetrate. So you cannot escape them. Would you want to? The law makes things known and predictable. And I like that. Because men are like surprises, eh? I don't like surprises. Because there are no surprises with the principles. It tells you what it is. You just need to know those. So you have all three steps. Know where you are, decide where you want to go, and then rehearse what? Experience in imagination what you would be doing in reality if you were the man or the woman you wanted to be. Why? Because when you rehearse, you will always perform what you rehearse. So you never have to hope, you never have to wish for, but you will always know. And with that, my beautiful friends, I bid you adieu. And I will see you on the morrow, right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Fanbase. And remember, pop on over to positivelyangela.com. Maybe you have a question. Maybe you have a suggestion for a topic. Maybe you want some coaching. Maybe you want to buy your Oracle cards. Pop on over there, positivelyangela.com, and holla at you, girl. All right, all right, all right. I look forward to seeing you again right here in these streets, these social media streets. 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 love. Much love. Z-Fib, are you still here, Z-Fib? Drop something in the chat and let me know if you're still here, and I will give you the steps one more time. Just let me know you're here. Even an emoji. Well, I'm going to presume that you're still here, Z-Fib. Okay? Step 1. Acknowledge the problem. Acknowledge it. There's something you want to change. What is that? Acknowledge it. Don't judge it, just acknowledge it. Step 2. What or who do you want to become instead of what step 1 is? Who do you want to be? Now, once you make that decision as to who you want to be, there is an accompanying mental attitude that goes along with it. So, for instance, if you say, I want to be rich, well, that's all fine and good. But what is the mental attitude of someone who's rich? What would your mental attitude be if you were rich? Well, for one, you wouldn't worry. You'd be calm. You would be excited because you get to travel. You'd feel free. Oh, I get to do what I want. Ow. So that's the mental attitude. Now, to show you, because it always has to be as within, so without, right? What would you be doing right here, right now, if you were the man or the woman you wanted to be? There's something you would be doing. Just something that, oh, Mr. Stafford Jr., there's something you would be doing. What is it? You know what it is. There's one thing for sure you know that you would be doing if you were the man or the woman you wanted to be. Because that is the personification, the embodiment of the mental attitude. So you get the mental attitude, but then you got to get the behavior that matches it. That's what you'd be doing. So when you see what you would be doing, now you take some time in the day, a minute or two, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. That depends on you. How long can you commit? You set your timer. You say, every 3 hours, I'm going to practice this thing. I'm going to put myself in that headspace, that mental attitude space, and I'm going to rehearse this behavior in my mind's eye. I'm going to watch myself do it. And you do it and you practice it for that 1 minute or 3 minutes. And then once you're done practicing, you get up and you go about your day. Remember, your timer is set, so you're going to do it again. Why are you repeating it? You are repeating it because when you practice, you set down a neurological pathway in your brain so that every time you want to do the thing, right, that accompanies the mental attitude, you'll know how to do it, which means you will be having the experience on the outside. Those are the steps. Know what the problem is and acknowledge it. Decide what you want to become instead. And then experience in imagination what you would be doing in reality if you were the man or the woman you wanted to be. And you rehearse it like an actor with their lines. You cannot defeat me, right? You rehearse your lines. And that rehearsal and practice, why do you take pleasure in it? Because when you take pleasure in the fact that, wait a minute, I don't have to continue being the old me. I can be the new me now. Get out. It gives you a level of excitement and it gives you a thrill. Why? Because you have ended your suffering, my friend. And remember, the principle of rhythm tells you there's an ebb and there's a flow. At some point throughout the day, you're going to go back to that old way. But if you catch it, you say, whoa, 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 wait a minute. That's my old way. What's my new way? Rehearse the new way. Every time you catch yourself going back to the old, practice the new. Over and over and over again. Why? Because you practice. Why? Because you're going to perform what you practice. You're going to live out what you practice. Ask any gymnast, ask any soccer player, ask any martial artist. You will always perform what you practice. So if you're performing rich, well, then you're going to have the money has to show up. Not because you force it or you try and figure out how to fandangle it in there. No, because it follows the mental attitude. That is why. So you don't have to fret, you don't have to worry, you don't have to hope, you don't have to wish, but you do need to practice. Ah, Z-Fib, drop me a line, dearest. I am glad I met you, and I'm glad I waited. I'm sure glad I did. Anywho, I've already closed Twitter. So, I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, fan base. Where are you going to go? PositivellyAngela.com. All right, all right, all right. And I will see y'all later. Much love to you.